same. Welcome back to the Big Blue Lifers podcast. I'm Mr. U. That's Jess. We're in the house talking all things New York Football Giants. What's up, brother?
Hey.
All right, what's up with the vibe, man? This is week one, the day before we start rolling here. What's happening here, man? What's going on?
I think the vibe is good.
You
We
think?
got some stuff to get into.
Okay, I
I
need to
am,
pepper the enthusiasm. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Like, what's going on? What's happening?
sorry, man. Just one of those long days. I've got
I
a
hear you.
super early morning tomorrow that I'm
Ooh,
just kind of mentally dreading right now.
uh-oh.
So
Sounds like fun or not fun,
yeah,
but
just one of those things. So
gotcha. No
it's
worries,
not
no worries.
it's not a lack of energy regarding the Giants. There will never be that, even when they're 2-14 at one point in the season.
Wait. We're not doing that again. I
No.
can't
I'm
surpass
not
that right
saying we
now.
are. What I'm saying is, even when the Giants are that, I still wake up and look forward to watching the game. I think
Copy
deep
that.
down it's a problem, but it's one I'm willing to have.
That's all right. We all have that problem. Anybody that's a real fan of their team, if they're honest about it, they got the same problem. So not a big deal. But we got a lot to get into. Not sure how long we're gonna be on for tonight, but for all those folks that are watching and listening and didn't understand what's happening, they got confused. You got your calendar all mixed up. It's not a mix up. Uh, we're on tonight for the next 2 weeks on a Wednesday night. It's just for the next 2 weeks, and we go back to our regular time of a Tuesday night, and we'll be live going forward throughout the NFL season. So sorry for the mix-up. If anybody's confused, we'll be here Wednesday at 7 this week and next week. Then we go back to Tuesdays, and we, I guess, reviewing the Monday Night Football game and the whole Sunday slate and whatever. So we'll be getting into that. But otherwise, we got some stuff to talk about regarding week one. Where you want to kick it off at? I know you had some concern about some injury stuff, I think it was. Or
No,
you want to start?
actually, I'm pretty happy with the injuries on the Giants side. If we want to get quickly into the first
Yeah.
official injury report of the season,
Yeah, let's do it.
I think, as there was a lot of concern heading into this week regarding guys like Newbin, who hasn't really practiced or at the very least didn't play in either the preseason games after the Bills one, so the first one. So we haven't really seen much of him for a while. Theo Johnson hasn't practiced and didn't play
Yeah.
against the Patriots. And there were, other guys like Neighbors and God, who else was it? There was a couple others who had like these, were banged up and very limited, if not no practice at all. And all of those guys appear to just be good to go for Sunday. Only one person was listed on the injury report, and that was
I wonder
Andrew
who that
Thomas.
was. He was limited.
Yeah.
I'm not. That's for me. I'm okay with that. He was limited in a practice. I don't have a problem with that. I saw multiple things today that indicate, and you know how it is, how news is. It could be one thing or the other, but the news seems to be that he'll be ready to go week one along with Theo Johnson. We need both of them out there. So I'm
I'm
going
not
with that
sure.
news.
I would love that news, but I also do believe in the let's not rush this mentality, because I would rather have Andrew Thomas starting in week 3 and then have him at 90+% the entire season than rush him back week 1. He's not really there. Some things get worse. He has to miss some games. Like, if they truly think he isn't ready, if he thinks he isn't ready, I say don't rush him back. You don't force the issue. And that seems to be the approach that they're taking. Whether or not that is actually how this plays out, I mean, it's going to be a wait and see, it looks like. But he was limited today. the big thing that I saw guys like Dan Duggan, Art Stapleton, all these reporters, all the beat writers talking about was the big thing. And I never saw any official, like, this is what happened. Maybe it just wasn't coming up in my feed. The practice reports. Did Andrew Thomas participate in 11 on 11? That is the indicator as to whether or not he's practicing. Because this today was, I believe, their last full practice where, like they're actually going at each other before Sunday. I think Friday's a rest day or walk through. Like either way, these next 2 days, Thursday, Friday, will not be intensive. So if he was able to participate in 11 on 11s today, something he has not done all year, or not all year, all summer, since camp opened, since he's been activated, no full on 11 on 11s. If he did that today, that is an excellent sign for him for Sunday. If not, I'm not getting my hopes up about seeing him out there on Sunday. But I don't know if you can find anything, right now that we're people talking about it. But it never popped up on my feed, so I don't have that update there.
It's just an optimistic day-to-day. He's doing well. Projected to be week 1. I saw it twice before we jumped online, but as far as where it is, I'll go back and find it. But is that good podcast for me to try to go back and find this while we're talking about it? Probably not. So, but I did see it in a couple of places. So no worries there. I mean, we got to think about the long haul because, again, if we're sticking to our original predictions, this could be a surprise season in a lot of ways because nobody is giving us but a certain amount of games to win this year, despite the much improved defense and the improvements as signal caller. So for me, I'm just like, I want to have, make the right moves at the right time and the right, I should say, the right push at the right time. So if he's not there week 1 and that's just something that we got to battle through, it's totally fine. But a totally healthy roster, and healthy is a relative word, healthy throughout the season, because everybody's hurt and banged up in some way, even if they're not on the injury list. For me, I'm like, if we can get them guys toward the end of the road and battling it out and doing something, that's a good situation. So, all right.
I mean, when it comes to injuries and the Giants, I'll take whatever I can get.
Oh, brother, what a wonderful attitude you got there. What else we got on the docket for tonight, man? What are we talking about?
Well, speaking of the injury report, Washington, the big news is that, and this was expected, but I think it's kind of now official. Right guard Sam Cosmi will not be playing Sunday. He is on the PUP list. He is not expected to be activated for a while. 1 second. Pulling up their report here right now, and because there were a couple other names, none as notable.
His name being on that list is
what do we have here?
His name is huge.
So Zach Ertz was a DNP today, but it appears that was mostly rest.
That doesn't mean anything.
Dorrance Armstrong, Noah Brown, Matt Gay, their kicker, and their backup quarterback Marcus Mariota were all limited to some degree. Although it seems like Marcus Mariota and Matt Gay are on it, but we're full practice. But Matt Gay is sick, so I don't know what that means. But the big news is Sam Cosmi. And the big issue that Washington had last year was their offensive line, or to a degree, their offensive line. They needed better tackle play, which is why they went out. They traded for Tunsil, gave up a second-round pick, I believe it was. With their first-round pick, they drafted the tackle out of Oregon, Josh Connolly Jr. And now they are, so they're really trying to rebuild this offensive line for Jaden Daniels. That takes a blow because I think Cosmi was rated as one of the best guards in football last year. Like he's up there. He's younger. He's not some old guy, They've got him under contract for at least a little bit, but he is out. That means that both their tackles are new. One is a rookie. They're going to be starting some kind of backup or someone out of position there at right guard. And we know what the strength of this Giants team is, and that's the defensive line. This game on Sunday, I think, is really going to come down to the trenches. And you can, obviously I'm not saying, anything truly new or, revolutionary when I say football is won in the trenches. But all in all, this game specifically will this, supposed to be phenomenal Giants pass rush live up to expectations and get after Daniels, disrupt their passing game, throw them off balance? And then on the flip side, especially if Andrew Thomas isn't playing, can the Giants establish the running game? Everybody knows they want to throw the deep ball. That's why they brought in a guy like Russ. That's why they drafted Dart. That's why Jameis is one of their backups. They have guys that aren't afraid to sling it and sling it deep. But the Giants are going to have to be able to establish a running game. They're going to have to be balanced. And so that's where I think the push and pull of this game is going to be. We know that the Washington, their offensive line is banged up or brand new. We have to take advantage of that. Use Abdul Carter as maybe a QB spy on Daniels. I've heard a lot of talk about that. I've heard that idea thrown out there by a lot of different people. There's going to be a lot of facets in this game, but whose offensive line is going to perform better is going to be the deciding factor. It's just going to be, can the Giants establish the run, and versus can Washington keep Daniels upright? So that's my take on that. Cosmi being out, massive check in the Giants' favor.
All right. I'm seeing a lot of different things that I think I'm not sure if I was the one that said that we win at Washington when we had a breakdown show where we kind of went through week after week. I felt like I picked us to win that week one matchup against them. I thought, but all things we see now obviously weren't on the table. This is just what I foresaw based on everything, all things being equal. But Cosmi being out, that's going to be a huge downgrade, if you will. Because I watched Connolly at Oregon. I watched him leading into the draft, so I kept up with him, and I know what he does well and what he doesn't do well. And for him to be a rookie out here in this spot, I'm like, if I was there, I wouldn't feel super comfortable with it. Dorrance is supposed to be potentially out, and he's their starter. To be honest with you, if you look at the entire depth chart for the Commanders, they're thin at almost every area. This is after the updated moves they made. So they're really thin. They're very thin at wide receiver. So they can't have any problems, anything happening injury-wise that they're in trouble there. And on top of that, you got Trey Amos at cornerback, and that's a rookie out there. Now, this is where I feel like Wilson's expertise, if you will, his experience is going to really play a part, because I can't see Wilson not taking advantage of that and having plays thrown at Trey Amos, because he's not used to this on this level yet. So he's going to be getting tested immediately. So we got several things working, to our advantage. How it plays out, we'll kind of see. But I don't love that Cosmi's out. You want anybody to be hurt, and you don't wish that anybody, even a rival. But him being out and Conley being there, and now you're talking about what, two or three rookies in starting spots. I think it looks good for that prediction to happen. So I still like us to win this. even more even more now than before, just because of what we're talking about right now. But we'll see how it goes. Like you said, the running game has to be definitely in place. And I get why, man. I think this is the kind of team that you want to have ball control, as much as possible, because the more that that Jaden's out there, that's probably not a good scenario. That means the offense is still on the field, and that's not what we want. We want him sitting and soaking on the sidelines as much as possible, because that means you're not out here scoring. So that's a good situation. So the trenches and the running game, I totally agree with that. Uh, let's keep our eyes on that matchup. I don't know who'll be facing Trey Amos. I'm going to just imagine it's probably going to end up being I don't know, maybe Slayton. Uh, I think he still could be taking advantage of. Slayton's a crafty veteran, so I'm not really worried about that. I'm sure the neighbors. Oh, well, maybe
I
it could be
mean, they
neighbors
got
against Amos.
Lattimore
I don't know.
or Amos really to match up there.
Yeah, I think what I said first time is probably going to be right. Probably going to be a Slayton faced up against Amos. I doubt very highly they're going to have Amos against slide them against neighbors. I don't see that happen. Not with Marshawn Lattimore on the team, even though his last year was nothing to sneeze at. So we'll see how that goes.
I mean, you're gonna have Sane still against.
I ain't gonna talk. I ain't talking bad about Mike. Yeah, that's my Michigan Wolverine. So
like
I love him. Mikey's incredible, but he's not a vet yet like Lattimore is. So no, I mean I don't know. I don't know what Mike is gonna be at, but I'll be giving some Go Blues out because I'm loyal to my college team, but I don't want them to win the game though. But I'll be watching Mikey a little bit. But other than that, that seemed to be it for the week one aspect of things in regards to the Commanders, man. I think that's where we at, man. I think we got a chance to win this game. I know people don't ever want to hear that. Nobody buys that. We're getting kicked constantly. We're gonna lose every game. No. I think this is a good chance to come out with a week one win. This is a good chance to do it.
I really think that even though most of my pessimism regarding this team is, every time it's like, oh, I think we've got a good team, yada yada. We come out and underperform is one way to put it. So I need the Giants to show me that I should expect them to win. The optimist in me, when I take a look at this schedule with what I've seen from other teams, 10-7 doesn't seem ridiculous if things go our way. I think 10-7.
Just put that on TikTok for me, all right? Just put that on TikTok. That's all I need for you to do today. Just put that quote on TikTok for me, if you don't mind helping me out, because I know what's going to happen.
in games that I think are like swing games, that we talked about. I mean, with what we had going on last year, we were right there in both Commanders games, and had we had a healthy kicker, I think we beat them the first time with a healthy kicker. But that was the game where we didn't have a healthy backup, and it was a whole thing. So we had to go for two every time, except we didn't get a single 2-point conversion. So bare minimum, that game goes to overtime. Bare minimum. But, so I think if we're really that improved in the ways that I think we could be, realistically, we could win both games. Dallas's defense seems to have taken a major step back, especially in terms of pass rushing, now that they've traded away Micah Parsons. So those games are question marks. I think their offense is still going to be great, but is this another game where maybe it's our defense really taking over? Debo doesn't, you're not going to be able to shut down a guy like CeeDee Lamb, but are we able to slow their offense down enough, and our defense kind of comes up major, and then our offense is able to take advantage of this Dallas defense that doesn't have their best player, who knows? So maybe that's 2 more wins. Again, very optimistically. And then you have games like the Niners, who I think are going to take a big step back this year. Well, at the very least, compared to what it seems like the expectations are. I don't think the Niners are a great team right now. What about the Bears? I know there's a lot of people that are like really high on the Bears, but if Caleb Williams isn't developing the way that they hope he is, we should be able to win that game. There's so many of those kinds of games on the schedule where it's like, if we're as good as I think we can be, I think we make the playoffs. But, it never goes that way.
I know people want to stay in this little space like this right here, where we talk about how good the team is and who's on the team and what they projected to do. We're going to do that kind of stuff. We're in the fantasy football era. We're going to do all that stuff. It's going to happen. It's on all the websites. It's happening. I think for me, though, the thing that I noticed the most that I talked about routinely on I don't know how many shows I was on in the past 2 or 3 years, on my own show, on my own sports show at the time. And the conversation for me was always about the fundamentals. I felt like the losses not every single loss, there was some losses where it was like we just got beat. But there were multiple losses, and when I say multiple, I'm talking about more than 6 losses, where it was a fundamental issue that cost us those games. It wasn't this person isn't talented or this person doesn't have the potential or whatever it is. It's just about fundamentals. And you can see that the coach is probably more stressed out than anybody because you can see all of the fundamental lapses. And when commentators from their positions on the field are watching the game and they're talking about fundamentals as well, former players, stuff like that, it's like it's not made up. It's actually legitimate. And for me, I'm like, if that part gets taken care of, I'm not saying it's going to be 10-7. I'm not saying. I'm just saying if that part gets taken care of and we're consistent in that part, we can be amongst the teams that are on the uprise, on the upswing, if you will. We're among those kind of teams because a lot of those teams that are there, it's not that they have so much more talent than the next team beneath them. It's because they do the small football things well. They're consistent. They take care of the fundamentals. They tackle people. That right there alone is just a whole other ball game. And we're gonna talk about your boy in a few minutes or somewhere before the show's coming to an end about how to play cornerback. Little things like that they make a big difference. And for me, I'm honestly I love to see Malik able to go out here and get 1,300 yards this season. That's great. That bodes well for us. I love to see Tracy and Scatterbo having a record season. That's great for us. Got no problem with that. Let's see Russell Wilson go out there and be able to go 37-10. But that's not all that matters. It's the fundamental part, the simple thing, the tackling, taking the right angles, on a runner. These kind of things, but we can't drop the ball in that because other teams are getting better and they're getting more talented too. We got to do the fundamentals right. So I don't know if the coaches are talking about this. I don't know if they're staying on this stuff. When your boy comes up, it's going to seem like we're not addressing that, but we have to address that in order to run with these boys and have the kind of surprise season that you and I were talking about early on in the preseason. I still believe it. I'm not. I ain't changing my mind until we're mathematically unable to toe that line. But for me, it's like the fundamentals part. It's like we can't ignore that. We got to do that thing right. And if not, it's definitely going to be Dave Ball's job for sure. So those things make a big difference. I don't care how much talent you got in the team if you don't play football right and do the right things, it's not going to matter. You're going to get beat by even a lesser team than you. So we can move forward, man. But I mean, that's what I'm watching for. I'm watching that from week 1 all the way to the end, man. are we taking care of the little things? Your boy Tay Banks, we talk about him. How many weeks it's been now? Almost a month now. That issue that we talked about all the time, it's a fundamental issue. It's, you know what? You know what to do. You heard what to do. You've been yelled at probably on what to do, but in game situations, you refuse to do it. Don't understand why. And that's the only problem that we have. That's one thing. But hopefully, guys, otherwise, they're doing the things that are necessary, tackling, blocking, not missing assignments, that kind of thing. So, yeah. Fundamentals, I'm hanging out there for the entire season, man. That's going to be the difference maker between us being a 2-win team like people are predicting, or us being surprised this year, not only in the NFC East, but also in the division, in the conference. Excuse me. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I guess that kind of raises an interesting question that we touched on, I remember, very early on into this show's life. But for Dable and Shane to keep their jobs, what does a successful season look like? Dan Duggan, was tweeting out about this earlier, and, all of the Giants beat writers were giving their season projections, and most of it was a lot of that 6-win, maybe 7-win, kind of seasons. And, a lot of people would, me included, if we got 6-7 wins, especially if, Jackson Dart comes in at the end of the year, looks promising, maybe get a few wins with him, something like that. Like, then I say definitely keep them. But, they were, I don't know how much interaction you've had with this guy on Twitter. I'm going to give him a shout out. Momo. I forget his full Twitter handle there, but Momo Pizza something. I don't. One second.
Oh, sounds familiar.
Yeah, let me see.
I ain't going out here to find this guy today, but I'm with you. Keep going.
Momo's Craft Pizza and Donut Shops on Welfare. On Welfa. He tweeted about they've got, it's year 4, and to me that's like a reasonable thing to be very critical of. It is year 4 of this regime, and people are out here talking about, like me included, hey, they get 6-7 wins. That's a great season. I'll happily take that. And that shouldn't be the expectation for any regime in the NFL. By year 4, you're saying we need to be competing for the playoffs. That's maybe fair. Even the Super Bowl, if like certain things have hit, right? But at the same time, I don't know. I feel like I want to give this regime more grace because of like the abnormality that was 2022. Like what happened in 2022 was maybe one of, if not the worst things that could have happened for the regime, for Dable and Shane, because it completely reset expectations. That season is why Daniel Jones got that massive contract that, still kind of hurting us in a little bit with the dead cap. That season that gave that, is what resulted in Daniel Jones getting that contract, is what led to us not being able to afford to extend Saquon and Xavier McKinney. And maybe those guys would have been let go anyways because of how Shane was, viewed those positions and how he, viewed to prioritize them. But at the very least, we know financially they were a bit strapped because they had to give Daniel Jones this contract. And, again, we've talked a lot about this in the past, so I don't want to get too into the weeds with it. But being that we essentially had to completely reset now with this regime, like to me, it's like mentally, it's almost like it's year 2, not year 4. You know what I mean? And I especially don't want to get rid of Dable when Dart is his guy. He loves Dart, and we're going to talk a bit more about that when we start going into the the one or two things that I thought were a bit notable with the Giants depth chart. But like, he loves Dart. And are we going to do essentially what we did with Daniel Jones, where rookie comes in, spends his first year learning the system, the team underperforms, get everybody out of there, new guy comes in, now Dart is learning a new system in his second year, and now this other guy, this other coach, this new GM kind of almost are tied to him? No, like, I feel like barring again, not predicting this, another 3-4 win season, I don't think we should be getting rid of these guys at all. And even then, if it's like, we got that few of wins because, Dart wasn't ready, but both Jameis and Russ are hurt. Thomas is hurt. Dex isn't fully recovered. Like, there are certain things that I'd be like, okay, that's not really on them. What can you expect when X amount of guys are, gone and injured, but something like that. But like, I don't know, man. Like, what to you, where's the line that, okay, we have to get rid of them, and what kind of season, would make you happy here?
All right, this is the epitome of a rabbit hole, but I'm go ahead and go down it. All
Yeah.
right, so it really is though for a lot of reasons, much of what you already said already. For me, I feel like 2022 was a pause. We were on a certain path, kind of like a decline, and certain things should have happened. But 2022 made it like, oh, okay, like you said, you called it a reset. Thought it was a great word by you, a reset. So now we're sitting here, what is in my opinion, in year three, what's usually a prove it year for most coaches that are on the third year of a potential decline, and they got to turn it around this year or else. Well, for me, I don't know if we can do that for the same reason you said, because Dart's in here, and on top of that, he's not starting. He was drafted the way he was because we wanted to give him time. So it's kind of like being disingenuous to get rid of his coach, start him all over again, and that's not really giving him time. You're actually steepening his learning curve. So if we have a 4-win season, which I God forbid, if you have a 4-win season, you can't get rid of him. I I don't know. I've been asked this all from some friends on other shows. Can you conceivably keep Dayball and get rid of Shane? I have no idea how that would work. A new GM has to be tied to Dayball in some way to keep him there. So that's a weird scenario. Not sure how it works. But if there was a 4-win season, theoretically, you're probably going to see a lot more of Dart, and you're probably going to have him maybe take over the helm at some point. You got to give him still at least another year as the starter to get comfortable with it and then to move forward. So for me, to answer your question, I am in the I think I said this earlier on in the preseason. If we are doubling the win total we had last time, or even a little more than that, which is kind of what I predicted, that's a win right there. I don't see a scenario where Dayball can get booted out just because of what's going on with the quarterback. And one of the reasons why we had a big reason why we had, in my opinion, the slide that we had. We got some teams out here that are not great and have issues with their quarterback. I could name several of them. I could name Jacksonville at the time. I could name Tennessee at the time. I could name Pittsburgh at the time. A whole bunch of teams that had issues with their quarterback, and they still didn't look the way that we looked in some respects. It was the quarterback play. It was probably one of the biggest things. So you can't get rid of Dayball in that respect because he brought Dart in and he deserved to get a chance to see Dart, do what needs to be done. I don't want to see that. A bad scenario is to see that happen because Wilson's not producing. I don't want that to happen. He only has a year with us so far. I love for him to have a stellar year. Even if he's not going to be staying with us, good. Elongate your career. Have a fantastic opportunity somewhere else, maybe on a team that's going to really be helpful to you, and let the Giants be a springboard if that's what's going to happen. If that's how contracting is going to work. I can't see him come back and being a backup along with James. I don't know how that's going to work, but Dart got to have his chance. So this year can't be the year, no matter what happens. So like to your point. So for me, I'm still in the 7 to 8 win realm. That's an ideal season for me. I think we can do better than that by a game at least, only because
Mhm.
of how great the defense is projected to be, and the fact that we have a competent quarterback who knows how to play the game, despite the challenges in other places where he was. I think he knows how to play the game. I don't care where he's ranked. I'm just over that part. I think he's competent at quarterback, and those two things together, that makes us a potentially surprising team. So I'm just excited about that. Hopefully, I answered the question. I'm in the 7 to 9 win realm. That's where I am right now. Not sure if I'm on the high end or the low end. I think I'm kind of in the middle, in that 8 win realm. That's an improvement. It showed that, you know what, having competency at quarterback and a competent defense does make a difference in the games that you actually play.
Yeah, and I think the quarterback thing is going to be the biggest one. I mean,
You betcha.
competent quarterback play is like worth 2 to 3 wins by itself, I feel like.
Yeah. That's why I predicted what I predicted. And people, gave us a hard time on TikTok, but that's why I predicted that. You can't count that stuff out.
For me,
I mean, I won't ask you to do it because this is another rabbit hole. I don't want to go down this one. But can you conceivably count all the times that we had guys open in the end zone last season? The number of guys opening, I'm talking about open, and it's way past the dozens. We going into a whole different strategy. We deep into the double digits. That happened so many times, and people were screaming, tweeting, posting, "He's open, he's open," and our quarterback couldn't get the ball to him. This is a whole different realm. No matter
for
which
me, the
three of the quarterbacks that we have, it's a whole. I don't care if it's Dart, Winston, or Wilson. This is a whole different realm now. Now those guys don't stay open that long now. Now the ball gets to them now. Either way.
I don't, again, I don't want us to go down this rabbit hole more than we already have, but I'm just going to leave it at this. A little while ago, I think it was Justin Pennick or someone tweeted out a compilation of like every or like within it was in a specific time frame, but like I think it was specifically when Daniel Jones was playing quarterback, every time he threw the ball to Theo Johnson. And there were like the first 4 passes you see are kind of like behind him or in the dirt, where if he can just catch the ball with his athleticism, he can kind of take off and go. And there's so many instances like that really last year that kind of like broke me as a Daniel Jones defender. I was never like a big lover of Daniel Jones, but I did think that, if we were able to put some competency around him, it's like he had flashes of being good. Like one of my closest friends has a video on Snapchat of me watching that draft and losing my mind when the Giants took Daniel Jones with Josh now Hines Allen still on the board right there. And I was not a happy camper. But, Daniel Jones was the Giants quarterback. I'm going to defend it. I'm going to go to bat for him. He's my guy. I support this team. I want to see him succeed, even if I didn't love the draft pick. But that's the kind of stuff that puts you at a disadvantage. Because best case scenario, Theo Johnson catches it, but now he isn't able to just catch it in stride and go up field. Now he's kind of got to stop and turn. And those precious seconds, not even full seconds, are the difference between a 4-yard gain and a 20-yard gain, So I think having this quarterback play is going to just, all it can do is help. So I think that's going to by itself give us a couple more wins. And, for all the talk about this is the most difficult schedule in the NFL, it's one of the harder schedules any team has gotten over the past 5 years or something I saw. You know,
I
I
don't think
think,
it's fair.
there's just that's based off of last season.
This is a
Obviously,
projection.
now the Cowboys are not viewed as good. I think most people kind of do expect a little regression for Washington. The Niners, the only reason we got them is because they ended up last due to all these injuries, but they have so many new pieces on defense. So I just think there's a lot of things that can, even
It's
though we
projections,
have
man.
this theoretical gauntlet of a schedule, I think we are going to learn a lot of things about the Giants week 1, and that's going to be, I can't wait to watch that.
These are all just projections, man. This all just
Mhm.
one game at a time, man. Let's get into our depth chart. I know we got a few things you
We don't
want to
have too
share.
much time left,
Well, yeah, we,
but
we, we can make it work.
we can
But
definitely make this work.
week 1 depth chart. So where'd you want to go with that? I know that we got a chance to see something a little bit surprising. We got to see Jackson Dart at QB2.
Yeah, and
I didn't predict that, to be
I
honest.
didn't
So
expect it.
I didn't predict that. I'm shocked a little bit.
I'm
I'm
not.
not sad or happy. I'm kind of neutral. I'm like, okay, interesting. Okay, he played very well in the preseason. So I mean, okay, okay.
That's my concern, though. Like, I still think that at the very least, for the first 4 weeks, if anything happens to Wilson, Jameis should get the nod. I don't want,
Okay.
Jackson Dart's first game to be week 3, Sunday night, Monday night, whatever the primetime game is, against the Chiefs and that defense and that Spagnuolo defense. If we are going to throw him in, let him start with the Saints, who, again, projecting, are going to be competing for the number 1 pick, But, that would be my preference to throwing him into like real info, because as great as Jackson Dart looked, it was overwhelmingly against second and third string guys, against vanilla defenses, and Daniel Jones, hate to bring it back to him, looked good in his first preseason, So I don't want to rush
Let
it.
that go, man.
Well,
let
for
that
the
man
sake
live,
of this
man.
conversation, it feels a little necessary to kind of go back there. Zach Wilson looked good in his preseason, if I'm remembering correctly. Not that I think Jackson Dart is Zach Wilson, but again, as you said earlier, we drafted him where we did because we wanted him to sit. That being said, like I said earlier, Dable loves this kid. This man is in love with, as in love as a coach can be with his quarterback. And I think the opportunity for Dart is going to come sooner than a lot of us expected, and maybe even so hoped, for this guy. He is going to be starting way sooner than I think a lot of people. Well, I kind of just said this, but I kind of am circling back to this point. But again, like, Dable loves him. I think he is further along than most of us expected him to be, with, what the kind of consensus was for him coming out of Ole Miss in the draft. But him being at QB2, I would still, I don't know if that means they are definitively, like, if God forbid something happens to Russ week 1 on Sunday, who is going to come in? So I personally would prefer to see Jameis there, at least for now. But they're going to do what they're going to do.
All right. If you don't mind, allow me to have the last word on this topic so we can move on to our other ones, because we're kind of running out of time here. I'll be real brief here with this one. Based on what we were talking about a little while ago in regards to Daboll and Shane, this actually can help clarify some things. If Dart was coming in earlier than we thought, you dropped that hint many times in our offline convos for the past 3 weeks. I think is what it was. So we always thought it could be a possibility, but what it does is it cements whether Dayball's going to be there or not. So it does serve a purpose. We don't
No,
want to see Wilson get hurt. I don't want to see Dart in yet. I'd rather see Winston for at least a little bit, at least a couple of games. If he's ineffective, if he's showing the bad side of Jameis, then by all means, we can't go back and get Tommy DeVito. We got to put Dart in. That makes sense to me. But I didn't foresee him being in the QB2 spot this quickly. I'm kind of shocked by that. I'm not sure whether that's a organizational thing where they have to put him somewhere or they can't move him in the middle of the season. I don't know how that works, but it is what it is. But it will facilitate, Dayball's being cemented and staying here with us longer on maybe some kind of extension, or him moving on and we bring another coach in. That's going to push the ball down the field real quick. If Dart had to come in and play before his time, he's Dayball's guy, and we all can clearly see that. We've seen it from the beginning. So you're gonna live and die with your guy. So perhaps that's what we need to do. So let's talk about Tay Banks. I'm taking a big sigh. Like I'm like, oh my god. I don't know how much more I can take, brother. But go ahead. You weren't in point on this one, brother. Go ahead, man, and tell me why we're even talking about Tay Banks today. Help me out.
yeah, everything this offseason seems to be proving me wrong and you right about one of our more, I wouldn't say heated, but more like back and forth debates.
I
Number of
love you,
weeks.
man. There's no heat between me and you.
No,
I
no,
love
no,
you,
not
man.
heat as in like actual genuine animosity, but like we're sports fans. We're gonna go back and forth about these things. We're both
Oh yeah. Oh
passionate
yeah.
about this team,
Oh
and
yeah.
one of the things what we were on seemingly opposite sides of a little while ago was I was saying that Deontay Banks is, I think, the best we're gonna get right now. You seemed a bit more like if we need to go to Flott, we go to Flott, and you were throwing out if there's trade opportunities, absolutely we need to jump on that. Now I will defend myself here. It doesn't seem like any trade opportunities have really arisen, but it seems like you're more right about the way that Flott has looked than I have been, and you're more right about Tay Banks than I have been. I've been way more in favor of Banks, thinking that he's the best that we got here. Doesn't seem like the case. Seems like him and Flott are still. I think they're going to give the nod, at least on the depth chart. It seems like they have Banks listed ahead of Flott as the right CB2. But what has come out seemingly from some anonymous Giants execs, not execs, but personnel, I think was the terminology used, saying he needs to grow up, and some of this other like kind of inflammatory stuff regarding Banks and how he's seemingly viewed within this organization. He might be on a different team before the end of the year. Tay Banks, like they might look to trade him, give him a fresh start, see if they can recruit any draft capital for him. But my God, man, it is not looking pretty for Tay Banks, and I'm at the point now with everything I've heard coming out of camp and what I've seen in those preseason games. I'd rather have Flott starting right now. He performed better. He was making plays on the ball. I think Flott, I still think gets beat a little more, but at this point, I'll take that versus a guy who keeps giving up these plays because he just refuses to turn his head. They have a new CB coach, and he refuses to turn his head still, and I do not know why. That is fundamental cornerbacking, and at least Flott makes plays on the ball. That's all I can say at this point, man. We are at the precipice of week 1, and nothing about this offseason has given me any more faith in Deontay Banks. So
I got some things to share, but I'm not sure it's going to be helpful. But I'm gonna share some
Go
things, and
for
then we'll
it.
move
It
on.
certainly can't be. You can't make me feel any more just flabbergasted. You know, like,
But I'm with you. So clearly, there's still a battle between them for the CB2 spot. Part of me doesn't understand why. I did check into this thing with the staffer that made the comment. Honestly, I've heard it across the board that this is not the only issue that people have been seeing with him. That's just the one that you and I talk about the most because it's the most glaring. But there's definitely some attitude issues there. That press conference that I sent you the copy of, I forgot what week it was in the preseason, but I think it was pretty early on, and I sent you. I think it was late at night. So I sent you this a copy of the press conference, and his attitude was like the attitude of a veteran, like he's won. Now he's under fire for some reason. His attitude was just rotten, and I'm like, wow. So you got an issue with being committed to your work as a cornerback. Clearly, you have many issues. One of which is the most glaring: locating the ball, making plays for the ball. And now you got a staffer who wants to be anonymous. And I'll come back to that in a minute. You know, and he's questioning Banks' maturity and his unwillingness to accept responsibility for what he does and what he doesn't do. And I'm like, okay, well, this sounds like somebody who's not going to be on the team very long if it continues on. The challenge with the staffer for me, though, he made some more comments, and I'm like, wait a minute. I don't agree with any of that stuff. It doesn't negate what he said about Banks. I think what he said about Banks is true. His other comments, such as the Giants don't have a real number one quarterback, and they're gonna have to play all of them this year. I'm like, what? I don't agree with that at all. Russell Wilson's accomplishments cannot be diminished. You can't say he's not a number one quarterback. How you gonna say that? They got guys that are ahead of him that haven't even played any ball yet. How you gonna in rankings? How you gonna call him and say he's not a number one quarterback? That this staff right here is an idiot in that regard. You know what I'm saying? And he's saying more stuff. I ain't gonna get into all that stuff. He's even down in the defense saying, "Can they win in a shootout?" I'm like, what in the world? I see why he's gonna be anonymous. This guy is this person, guy or girl. This person doesn't seem to know what they're talking about. It's a lot of criticism in a place where they have more positive vibes than in the past 5 years. So I don't understand where that's going. But in regards to the Banks comment from this anonymous staffer, that part is rock solid. Yeah, we couldn't. I tried to find some guys on the market who might be available. Matter of fact, tell you the truth, I stopped looking after that first cut. I stopped looking. I don't know who's even out there that's available, but and I don't know how to make you feel better about it. I just kind of feel like at this point, if this is what we got to do something because we'll get picked on. Will Flop be able to hold up and be somebody won't be a pushover against opposing quarterbacks? I have no idea, to be honest. I have no idea. I don't know. But if we can help out there, I know we tried some quarterbacks. Excuse me, we tried some quarterbacks and cornerbacks out recently. I don't know what the results of that's going to be yet, but we have done that, so they know the Giants know we got to at least try some people out because Banks is having some challenges, and now it's more than just him not turning his head. Now we're talking about your attitude and maturity and how your bad attitude rubbing off on the rest of the players. Now we got a whole different situation going on now. So you know I'm not Team Banks. I'm tired of this show. So at this point, I don't even care who's back there. At least somebody who has some heart is going to play ball with has to be played. That's who I want. So that's where I'm at. And if you got a closing thought about that, we can move on to what I think is the last topic for the night. I think.
Yeah. I don't really have much to say about it.
Okay.
You know me, I've said all I think there is to say about Deonte Banks.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about the O line then. Let's get into that. Let's finish up with the O line. No worries. The Banks
yeah.
thing speaks for itself.
So
what else can we say?
Despite all of the kind of preseason hype, it looks like Marcus Bowe is not going to be the backup swing tackle.
Oh man.
Seems like they're giving that to Hudson. And honestly, I'm okay with that. He looked better on the right than the left. He looked better on the right side than the left side of the
Okay.
of the offensive line, in my opinion, and I think most of the data back that up in the preseason. But the truth is, I think if we are actually going to put the theoretical best 5 offensive linemen out there, if Andrew Thomas is out, I think it would be move Jermaine Illuminor to the left, start Bo at right, hypothetically for week 1. And as crazy as this might sound, the absolute best 5-man offensive line unit that I think we can put out there right now is Andrew Thomas at left, Runyon at guard, Greg Van Roten at center, Jermaine Illuminor at right guard, Marcus Bo at right tackle. Illuminor has played guard in the past. He's been fine there. Greg Van Roten has a lot of flexibility as to where he's going to line up on the interior, including center. He has played center. Now, obviously, you're hoping JMS can develop, but right now, in terms of who's going to be getting this job if Andrew Thomas isn't ready to go, I think putting Hudson out there is the best move. I might end up regretting saying that.
We'll see, brother.
But I think overall he was fine in the preseason. He had some issues with penalties, which obviously never good. But in terms of actually being able to handle the strength and speed of starting defensive linemen for our quarterback's blind side, I think Hudson right now is the better option. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And hopefully that's more about a positive for Bo than just the sheer heinousness of our continued struggles on offensive line, and especially in terms of depth. But for right now, I agree with the decision to start Hudson there as the I guess next man up if Thomas is out.
Yeah. I'm gonna defer and just wait till we watch week 1. I'm a fan of Bo, but I'm not saying where he should be on the line. I think on the right side is wise for him, but let's just see what happens week 1 to see how it goes. Your idea for the O line, I don't know how we get from here to there.
Oh no, that's literally like a
that's
Madden hypothetical. That'll never happen. That kind of
that's an off-season kind of
right
thing.
guard and Roden at center. That's not going to happen, and chances are that's probably for the best. That's just me being like, well, Jermaine Illuminor is shown to be solid, real solid at right tackle, and he has played guard in the past, if I'm not mistaken. He'll probably be better than Neal by everything we've seen. And Marcus Bo is better at right tackle against backups than he was at left tackle. So that would mean he starts right there because there's absolutely no way he's worse than Neal there. And then where does that leave Roden? Well, he's been one of our better, he was one of our better offensive linemen last year. And he's played center. That was the logic there. That wasn't like real.
Okay.
There's absolutely no chance that happens.
No, okay. No worries. Anything else on the docket? We're talking Dex, so we're gonna table that.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily really a topic right now. I think the expectation is that because of their cap situation right now, I think they're in the negative for in-season cap space, in terms of like being able to make moves. So they're going to have to restructure someone. And I think that person is going to be Dexter Lawrence. And from reports that I saw, I thought they
already did that for him too.
They did. I think that was they turned some money into signing bonus money, and so I don't really know what they're going to be doing if they are going to reconstruct it again. But from all reports, it sounds like they don't want to touch Brian Burns' contract because of how that's structured. And with the current fragility of the Andrew Thomas situation, I don't think they want to mess with any money there. So that kind of just leaves Dex in terms of guys that can restructure. So I wonder if they're going to give him an extension or something like that, but that there's still, time will tell with that. Because all in all, they've structured contracts really well. We have a lot of healthy cap moving forward. I don't fully understand how it is that come the off season we're going to have like a healthier cap situation, but in season we're currently in the negative. I think it's more about like certain contracts expiring than anything else, but yeah, we're going to have to wait and see there. So it's not as much of I think we're going to have more to talk about it in the this time next week, but as of right now, I don't think there's too much to tackle about that.
We'll watch it. Well, fantastic show, brother. Good to have you in here, man. This has been fun. Tomorrow, guys, in case you're not aware, you haven't checked your calendars, Thursday Night Football, the beginning of the season. Cowboys, Eagles. I think all Giants fans have a vested interest in watching this game and see what happens, especially after the recent news and just a lot of things that are going on in the NFC East. But we're excited about football being back. We have a whole lot more to talk about. Who knows? Pop-up episode by us, a status update, breaking news could happen from the Big Blue Lifers podcast, so you never know. So be on the lookout for that. But thanks again for watching and listening. That's Jess. I'm Mr. U.